The Academic Union of Universities, Asuu, has once again extended its nationwide strike for another 4 weeks. The strike from initial was embarked upon by its members since February 2022, meaning it has been running for over 6 months, and they are still counting, going by the new extension now. The question that keeps coming up on the minds of many parents, guardians, and even the affected set of persons in the society is, when will this saga end? And when can we once again have smooth academic session in the country without interferences? Asuu, in a statement on Monday, said that the action now followed extensive deliberations and is taking into cognizance government's past failures to abide by its own timelines in addressing issues raised in the 2022 FGN/ASU Memorandum of Action that was supposedly agreed on. Hence, it resolved that the strike be rolled over for 4 weeks to give the government more time to satisfactorily resolve all the outstanding issues. Be that as it may, parents, guardians, students, and all concerned are now fuming and agitated as to how long will this linger, and also the fate of the students who, some of them are said to have lost interest in schooling and have gone ahead to engage in various activities that may or may not add value to their lives and their future. Well, to treat this very strike extension for another 4 weeks by Asuu and the implications proliferating educational system in the country are 2 gentlemen in the studio with me. You'll get to meet them in a moment. I'm Lydia Odijochi. Welcome to Nigeria Today. With me in the studio to discuss Asuu strike extension is Abdullahi Saleh, National Moderator, Civil Society Action Coalition on Education for All. Good to have you with us on the program.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here.
Glad to have you.
Thank you.
Also with me in the studio is a regular face, a friend of the house, readily available to share his wealth of knowledge with us, the ever-ready Jide Ojo, Public Affairs Analyst. You're welcome to the program.
Good evening, Nigerians. It's a pleasure to be here. Good evening, Lydia.
Looking sharp.
Thank you very much for the compliments.
Okay.
You're looking good too.
All right. Let me begin with Abdullahi. An extension for 4 more weeks by Asuu. How would you react to this?
Well, what do you really expect? I said it 2 weeks ago that I didn't expect anything different.
Okay.
Largely because it seems we're not ready for governance. Except if Asuu decides that, well, we're backing out. We have decided that understanding the trajectory that this government is going, we will let this be until they leave. But I tell you, from the body language of this government, it's going to be difficult to solve this problem during this regime.
So you're even envisaging?
Well, sure. The issues didn't start today, and it doesn't look like they're ready to discuss. The only change I see is that the Minister of Labour was asked to step aside, which is a very bad, for me, it sends a bad message, because the Minister of Labour should be in the discussion. However, it was said that the Minister of Education should take over. Now, looking at the antecedents of the Minister of Education again, I do not think that he has what it takes to negotiate with Asuu. The issues are humongous, and what government is looking at is different. And I tell you, if you assess this government critically, you'll understand that there's a lot to be desired.
Jide, what role do you think, or do you feel past leaders, elder statesmen, or even traditional rulers can play in mediating or prevailing on both sides to sheath their swords?
In all sincerity, I'm so disappointed. I have a feeling of deja vu that the optimism that was raised like 2 weeks ago has been dashed. One should have understood after the presidency came out and said, oh, there was never any timeline given. That the press misquoted the president that, oh, okay, the 2 weeks was given. Because 2 weeks was end of, that's July 31st. And to your question, Christian Association of Nigeria, National Council of Islamic Affairs have all stepped in. The National Assembly have stepped in. Even before the declaration of the strike. But the government has not shown sincerity and willingness. However, I slightly disagree with my brother. I believe they will give way.
Who are the they?
The government.
Or Asuu?
The government.
Okay.
Listen, why I have that optimism is this. APC will not want to go into election with Asuu stay on strike.
So you're politicizing the issue then?
It's not about politicizing. But everything in life is about politics. Why would the federal government continue to subsidize PMS? It's because of politics. They made the law was signed that immediately after the signing of the Petroleum Industry Act, there will be removal of subsidy. Silva said it.
Yes.
But they knew if they remove that subsidy, going into the election, it's a fait accompli. They will lose. The same way, they know the groundswell of opinion. People are already saying no education, no election. So, at least even if it's a palliative, they will want to meet Asuu one way or the other and get the student back to school. I cannot say exactly when, but I am saying there is that likelihood that the issue will be resolved temporarily. They may not keep to the terms of agreement as they have done previously, but at least they want to get the students back to campuses before the elections. What happens after election is secondary. However, I read the text of Professor Emmanuel Osodeke. The issue, basically, if there is goodwill, the issue has been resolved. You know why I said that? The federal government set up a negotiating team, initially led by Professor Musali Jubri,
Okay.
who is from the academia and who was a former VC and a former NUC Executive Secretary of National Union and National University Commission. Again, they disbanded that and set up Professor Nimi Briggs Committee.
That's the most recent.
The most recent. And if you read what Professor Emmanuel Osodeke said, he said the agreement had been reached with the committee set up by federal government.
Yes.
That's the Nimi Briggs Committee, has concluded all the negotiation.
Yes.
All that is needed is to sign. And that Asuu is satisfied with what Professor Nimi Briggs is bringing to the table. And that if the federal government have issues, they should table it. So, that's why I said the issue has been resolved. To the extent that Asuu is willing to say, Mr. President, this has been before you for the past 30 days, sign and let's get back to work. But if peradventure you have reservation about what has been submitted, raise it and let's trash it. So it is not as complicated as when there was no initial way forward. So it is not for the federal government to show commitment and political will to say, look, yes, we may not resolve everything
but we can have
but today. Let's start implementation. For instance, if the federal government said the earned salary and allowances will be paid, if they say UTAS, we have accepted instead of IPPIS. If they said the revitalization fund, this is how much we can afford to put forward in the immediate period. all of these issues, you can deal with other minor issues later. But the point now is that, is the government studying the NIMBY's report for the past 30 days? Why has it not come out to say, oh, we disagree with this, or we are okay with this? If that had been, and as at yesterday also is saying, we are waiting to be called upon.
Okay, let me come to Abdullahi. In a portion of the statement submitted by the union, it stated that it wonders why it had taken 5 full months of needless muzzle flexing for government to come to the realization of the need for honest engagement. Now, does this sound like some headway in reaching their request?
Exactly, and that was why I told you I do have some issues with the way government is dealing with this matter, because not only 5 months, because it has lingered for more than 6 years that this government has been there, because these issues have been there long before this government. Talking of the 2009 agreement, which has been reviewed, as he said, and most recently by the BRICS committee, and then during this discussion again, that agreement didn't come up. I think that is a bone of contention. Now you wonder, why would the government waste government people, the taxpayers' money to set up committees and refuse to work on the recommendations of the committee? What really is government looking out for? I think, just as you said, Asu's demands are very plain and open. And once they are discussed one after the other, this issue is not something that will take us this long. If really the government that we voted for, let me put it that way, and we gave all the instruments of office to function on our behalf, and if they have our interests at heart, they wouldn't be thinking of themselves, such that they will leave out very key issues, so that this can be laid to rest. I was at the protest with Waba. He kept saying something. The issues are known to everybody now. It's nothing new. And if ASU is demanding for anything that is not reasonable, I think government has the powers to sanction them. If government will not do that, then that means there's an issue. There's something more than we can see. Okay. Therefore,
So now, what should be the best approach, Jide, to resolve these issues?
There's no two way to it. It's fidelity.
Okay.
Government needs to show fidelity, even in the committee that it has set up. I've told you, 2 negotiating committees. Don't forget, in December 23, 2020, when ASU called off the previous one that lasted 9 months, there was a memorandum of action which has not been implemented. That's why I said government needs to show fidelity. If there is a memorandum of action, imagine, the reason why students didn't feel that of 2020 was because of COVID-19.
Yeah.
So even if schools were to be in session, they would have been locked out, and then because of the contagious nature of COVID-19. But now, if government will show fidelity and say, look, this committee will implement it in phases. But here, I'm putting this out there. Issue around UTAS. I learned on good authority, and it's part of what Professor Sodeke said. Now look, publish the report of NITDA on the integrity test conducted on UTAS.
Even though IPPS was not...
I learned reliably that UTAS scored 93%.
Wonderful.
Well, about that,
yes. The IPPIS has never been subjected to any scrutiny.
Exactly.
And it's giving them issues. And we saw what has happened with the Accountant General who superintended over these IPPIS. So it's for government to show fidelity to resolve this
Let's
issue.
take a break here and have reactions of Nigerians on the matter, as brought to us by correspondent Thomas Ogbetere.
Remember, education is the source of, is the generation of everything in this world. Both the politicians, if they did not go to school, if the teacher did not teach them, would they be there where they are? Can they even speak English? Doctors, lawyers, anything. They are the key holder, the foundation of any success in this Nigeria. So I wonder why.
So it's really an unfortunate situation that Nigerians has, and in fact parents has found themselves in, seeing the children being at home. And the way out is that, in fact, the authority and the government itself should sit up to the task and then know one of the reasons for their existence, which is providing basic education for the youth of this country, which of course are the basis and the root of any development you can think of.
My opinion, the federal government should step down from their high horse and reach out to Asuu and see ways, possible measures where they can be able to resolve all this issue, because it is for our own good. It is for the good of the federal government. If they don't do this, majority of the students out there, they will turn out into something else that the federal government will not be able to contain.
So it's very unfortunate, and that is why we are saying that government need to wake up. The Asuu also needs to have a kind of a soft landing so that we can sort this out.
If the Asuu and strike will continue to be going like this, so how are we going to get the future leaders?
How are we going to get future leaders? That last respondent. Wow. Thanks for staying tuned. The program is Nigeria Today and we are discussing Asuu strike extension. My guests are still here with me, Abdullahi Saleh and Jide Ojo. How would you react to those respondents?
You could see the pain of Nigerians. You could see how they're speaking. And everything points at government because they have what it takes to resolve this matter. And just as one of the respondents said, if government doesn't do something about it, the youth will turn into something, and we can see that already. We're not dealing with the root cause of the issues that we're facing in Nigeria. We're playing over it, and unless government does something about it, just as we rightly pointed out in our press conference, honestly, we are getting to a point where government cannot redeem Nigeria. It will be difficult. So that's for me. I think if they listen to us, if they go by what these people are asking for, good for them. Because I wouldn't say good for us, but good for them.
Good for them.
Yes.
Now, Jide, part of the things Asuu has been asking for is university autonomy. How best can this autonomy work in Nigeria, even when at the states we're having issues, such issues unresolved?
There is nothing to it. You know, the autonomy issue has been just like the rest of the issues, and it's just got piled up. The issue of autonomy has been there, and it has been trashed out.
Okay.
It's just the full implementation that have not been attained. For instance, it is part of negotiation that now makes university lecturers to retire at 70 rather than 60, 65
Professors.
that you have. That's professors.
Yeah.
But again, you are asking them to retire at 70, but the entire public universities in Nigeria has less than 100,000 professors. The irony, Lydia, the irony is that it was reported in the Punch of yesterday that the National Assembly is considering establishment of 63 new tertiary institutions. They have not funded the existing one. They have not. They have not. They are starving them of funds. Revitalization fund. And yet you are considering establishing additional 63. Are we serious? Do we actually know what we are doing? So the issue of autonomy, if you want to privatize. Let's know that all the universities are now
private universities.
Commercialized, fully commercialized. But you cannot be running away from your responsibility. Mark you, education is on social service. It's a social service. It's like water, it's like electricity. Those are social amenities. And you cannot price them out of the reach of those who should be the beneficiaries.
Yes.
Yes, I like the fact that there are variations. If you can afford it, send your word to private. If you cannot, send it to public. But the public must be made to what it's worth. And it's not even, you see, we look at even the tertiary, they are more resilient. I mean, the academic staff, of tertiary institution.
Okay.
NUT has also been crying. Many primary and secondary schools are in deplorable conditions.
It's true.
There was a picture of a Oguwaterside secondary school where students are writing WAEC using stone.
Oh my goodness.
That's WAEC. They are writing no lockers, no desks, no chairs. And that is the state of public university and public institutions in Nigeria. So if you want to hands off education, let's discuss it. Let's have an academic summit. But these are issues that are already been trashed out in previous negotiations about how to achieve university autonomy. You get. So it's like sports. Government is still very deeply involved in sponsorship of our athletes. So the same thing. But the antithesis of what I'm saying is that the crux of the matter, autonomy or no autonomy. Yes, autonomy for you to recruit your vice chancellor, independent, but you see that if university council appoints or go through the selection process, what is done now is that you will not appoint, you will recommend 3 names to the president, who is the visitor. It is the visitor that will now say, it doesn't matter whether the person who came third will be in selection or second or whatever. And that is part of autonomy we're talking about. Can the universities be fully responsible for appointment, discipline, promotion, and all the entire gamut of running the institution? Because there is still heavy involvement of government, federal government, state governors in the running of this institution.
That's true. Now, Abdullahi, your final words. What is your final? What would you say? How would you feel these incessant strike actions by Asuu can be finally put to an end?
Well, just as I said in the beginning, that government must live up to expectation. Unless they do that, it's going to be difficult. You're dealing with a group of intellectuals who have, over the years, been neglected, and they have been they've been treated, as nobodies in this country. These issues didn't start today. Just check around how much the average salary of a lecturer is. It's very, very poor compared to his students who come to class. Not for his fault. But then again, I tell you something. Look at the trajectory, as I said again, that government is taking. Over the past, I heard Ngigi saying that Nigeria is broke. When it comes to issues of education, they don't take it seriously. When we know that one person siphoned over 100 billion naira in their own interest. Number 2, even while these issues were on, one of the government persons has worked so hard to see that the education sector lives up to expectation, which is TED Fund. The executive secretary deserves a second tenure. But the immediate past permanent secretary of Ministry of Education, who has a corruption case against him, was made the executive secretary. These are issues that we're also watching. Because when we're done with these, there are other issues that government is by themselves bringing up.
All right.
So we urge government to live up to expectation and do the needful.
Okay, this is where we end the program for today. But before we go, I want to say a big thank you to Abdullahi Saleh, National Moderator, Civil Society Action Coalition on Education for All. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
And of course, Jide Ojo, Public Affairs Analyst, thank you for coming. We appreciate you both for coming.
The unpaid staff of NT. Thank you.
I hope next, when we meet next, is to congratulate ourselves for Asuu's comeback and our children happily attending lectures. And to you, our viewers, always a pleasure to know that you are there watching and keeping a track with the program. So remember, you can still watch this episode and other ones on www.youtube.com/ntnews24hub. I am Lydia Ojijochi saying goodbye. See you tomorrow.